He's a very experienced Amazon seller in the Australian marketplace. And today he's agreed to come on and talk a little bit about how to find suppliers and how to negotiate with suppliers in order to get the best prices for your products. So, hey, Alexander, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks, Rob. Much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to start out, maybe we could just go into your background a little bit so the audience can get a little bit of a better understanding of your journey through FBA.
Yeah, sure. So I started about a decade ago in importing. So I was importing Balinese products into Australia. So Bali's just above us, so it was a lot easier. And we just sort of went to warehouses and used to pick stock and get a 20-foot container and just chuck stuff in there and bring it back to Australia. But a lot of things have changed in the last decade. Things are also cheaper in China. So we started a coaching company about 8 years ago or so. But I used to be a sourcing agent. That's kind of where I got my feet on the ground. So people would come to us where they would have ideas and say, hey, I would love to get, 50 pieces of fencing, or I would love to get 20 segways, or I want, tiles, 1,000 tiles. And you would need someone on the ground to go over to China, or someone who knows what to do to find those and get the best price, the best terms, negotiate back and forward with the supplier, and basically bring it in the country, because it wasn't easy. Alibaba's made it all easy these days, but back then Alibaba wasn't as user friendly, and there's a lot of dodgy stuff happening on Alibaba. In fact, there's a lot of scams on Alibaba about a decade ago, where it was like the wild west. You would pay for goods. You could buy a whole shipment of iPhones when iPhones are like very new, and then what would arrive, it would look like an iPhone, but inside was like some dodgy little phone. It was still a phone, but it just looked like an iPhone, but it wasn't an iPhone, right? And or empty shipping containers would arrive, and it was really like a gamble. It was like going to the casino. Whenever you made an order on Alibaba, it was like going to the casino, and you'll basically, fingers crossed, hope you won and got your goods. So things these days, though, are a lot safer. Alibaba, they stepped up their act and stuff, so things are a lot easier. And that's kind of the reason why I don't do the sourcing anymore, because people are just doing it themselves. But that's kind of how I got my groundwork covered, where it was just learning how to negotiate, teaching other people how to negotiate. And then I started doing the training space, and things changed. In Australia, FBA is only new here. In America, it's 23 years. In Australia, it's only since December 2017. So that's like 3 years, like this month. So it's still relatively new here, and there's still a lot of stuff that hasn't come here. But we now show people what we do is we show people how to find products, how to find products, how to identify it. And all of our students use Egrow, by the way. So we use Egrow, we identify the opportunities, the holes, the gaps in the market. We use sort of Alibaba, but we still try and get the best price, get the best terms, and then sell on Amazon Australia.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I should mention, we'll get into this at the end, but you are a coach at Hot Product Formula, which is an agency based out of Australia. So you have not only a lot of experience selling on Amazon yourself, but also coaching and instructing your students as well. So really glad to have you on, because you're such a wealth of information.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we could just jump right into a little bit about finding the best suppliers. Obviously you brought up kind of the Wild West of, back in the day. Now that things are, a lot easier and a lot safer with Alibaba, is that kind of the first route that you recommend your students or any new sellers go through?
Yeah, I think it is. It is mainly Alibaba is like the big one. I mean, there's heaps of other websites out there. There's there's AliExpress, which does more wholesale stuff. You buy 1 or 2 items, which is good. A lot of our students use AliExpress as well. You have global sources, 1688.com. Another website is the HKTDC. It stands for the Hong Kong Trade and Development Council. They actually years ago sponsored my events because I was fostering trade between Hong Kong and Australia. In fact, their office is just behind me back there. And we used to run events and training events from their offices. because we were, doing a pretty decent job. But that's all Hong Kong sort of stuff. So if you use HKDDC, you usually typically pay a little bit more than what you would pay on Alibaba, because Hong Kong is, it's not mainland China. So, but the quality actually is a little bit better. But yeah, Alibaba is, to answer your question, Rob, the Alibaba is mainly the first place we go. Now, recently, as we know, there's spats with China, right? America's having spats with China. China hates Australia right now. They especially hate our wine, right? So there's a lot of stuff happening right now. And the market is shifting slightly, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's still always going to be China. China, you'll always find the cheapest stuff. But there's people out there that go, oh, I want to sell only Australian-made products on Amazon. And that's completely fine. You can find things local here. And some people are looking for other websites like India. And India is a massive, it is an opportunity. They said about a decade ago, India is going to be the new China. Well, it's probably not just yet, but it will be eventually, because the wages are going up in China, and then India is sort of remaining the same. But IndiaMart.com, you've got TradeIndia.com, and they're like exactly like Alibaba essentially, but they're for India. And India is India is actually up and coming. So if you're looking for textiles or gifts, mainly the gift market, or shoes or things like that, then India is actually a very good place. It's still very cheap. And the great thing is, because it used to be a colonial asset, they all speak English. So they're much better, much faster to communicate. They know how to haggle, so you can haggle out a good deal with them. In fact, it's insulting if you don't haggle. It's Chinese, the culture is a little bit different. It's like, no, you haggle, you're going to get a terrible quality product. We'll say yes, but you get a terrible quality product. But if you haggle too much, but India, they love it. They love the back and forward, and they all speak great English. And it's and not right now, but when things get back to normal, it's just a quick plane ride to India, and it's quite nice. Visit the Taj Mahal while you're there, and head over to Sri Lanka and Mauritius if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to put that on the bucket list. So it sounds like, obviously there's a number of different routes you can go down, whether it's some of the Chinese suppliers or even looking into India. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd imagine, especially for new sellers, you might recommend that they start out by contacting multiple suppliers, or kind of trying to get a feel for where they might get the best deal, or who they might be able to work best with. If we could just go into that a little bit, what sort of things do you maybe recommend that people look for when they're contacting a supplier? What are some things that you find when you work with really good suppliers, and what are maybe some red flags that you should try to stay away from?
Yeah, so on all these supplier websites, Rob, they've got things like gold status. So let's just talk about Alibaba. You got the gold status, which is great, right? How long they've been in business for. Now, I wouldn't discount, there's a lot of new suppliers. There's always new suppliers coming in. So if someone's only been around for a year, I'm not going to go, no, I'm not going to deal with business with them, right? I'm not going to say that. I'll still look at them and see what they have to offer. However, I'm going to lend more credibility to people who've been in business a little bit longer. I look for trade assurance. Now, trade assurance, everybody, is kind of like the backup plan, right? It's like an insurance thing that if something does happen, you can always contact Alibaba. Now, Alibaba, it's a publicly listed company now. The founder, Jack Ma, basically took it on an IPO, I think about 3 years ago. Now, to do that, he actually had to clean up the act of Alibaba. He had to kick off all the scammers, all the troublemakers. If you had too many bad reviews, they would kick you off. So Jack Ma basically cleaned up Alibaba a lot. So you don't have a lot of people using the trade assurance as much as people or think they do. But trade assurance is a backup plan, and you can always contact Alibaba, and they'll resolve the problem for you. So suppliers these days are pretty decent. But whatever supplier you look for, gold supplier status is preferred. Been in business for a bit. They've got some reviews. They've transacted a little bit of money. You can sort of see on Alibaba, it shows you everything, right? So, and also, making sure it's a good quality, good quality product. And what I look for, Rob, is I connect with them and I ask them really I've got a template that we have, and we ask them really 5-6 questions, and we expect answers for all those questions. So we'll send them 5 questions. When can you ship this to the Amazon US? How much will it be for a sample? If I want to put my logo on the product, how much extra would that cost me? What was it? Yeah, so what's the quantity for 500 units? what's the quantity for 100 units, right? So we have 5 or 6 questions. You basically, and you could just simply ask that, right? But what you're looking for, the thing is here, I'm not really interested really in the answers to all those questions. I want to see how they respond. So if I get some generic copy and paste response, it's not going to really be a good sign, right? Because you want people who have attention to detail. So if they don't respond and they don't give you a great answer, if they only answer 2 of those questions, and there are suppliers out there who don't even read your email, right? They're not the types of people that you want to be doing business with. You're wanting someone to have attention to detail, who can follow instructions and they reply. It doesn't have to be the best English, but as long as they answer all the questions, you're like, great, let's now get a sample. But it's really about making sure that they're attentive to detail, that they do reply in a timely manner. And the best way to do this is doing the RFQ, the request for quote function on Alibaba. It's when you just branch out to 100 different suppliers at one time. So you save yourself a heck of a time. Like I used to contact them one-on-one, and I remember spending about 3 hours. I was interested in this cupboard storage product. This is a few years ago, and I was like, okay, I want to reach out and get these on. Back then, it was more eBay, right, and selling at wholesale. So I wanted to buy all these cupboard storage stuff. So I remember going on. I spent like 3 hours back and forward. I had a copy and paste template, but back and forward, shooting off like these different emails to all these suppliers. And out of all that, I probably did about 100 suppliers. Out of that, probably about 20 people got back to me, and for various reasons. Some were on holiday, some were basically they were just weren't doing that particular product anymore. So I did waste a lot of time. The advantage of using something like RFQ, now it's free for everybody, right? But it's just a good way of saying, hey guys, this is my product. These are my 5 questions. Who is ready to do business with me right now? And so you only get the people that are willing to do business with you at that point who are ready. Because some people are on holiday, Chinese New Year's coming up, so you kind of want to only talk to the most, sort of proactive suppliers, if that answers your question.
Absolutely, yeah. And, you mentioned that, it's that great function where you can really reach out to a bunch of people or a bunch of suppliers all at once, and you're not even necessarily looking for the answer, but you're kind of just seeing, is this someone I might be able to work with in the long run? And I think that's a really important point for especially brand new sellers to understand, because it seems like ideally you'd want to be developing a long-term relationship with these suppliers, right? This isn't hopefully going to be a one-off buy, right? You're going to want to kind of try to develop that relationship over time. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is about relationships. So a little tip here is it isn't just about a one-time transaction. The Chinese love to do business with people for long term, and they make more money. So when you are negotiating with them, one way of getting the best price is to convey that up front and say that you're here for long-term business. You're here because you want to work with them for many years to come, and they know they make more money long-term rather than just do a one-off transaction. So they like that sort of stuff. They love you saying that, especially in an email or just even on chat on Alibaba. One way of also, I just thought about this. This is what I used to do. I used to send gifts. So when I used to go to China, like the last time I went was last Canton Fair in October 2019, last year, before everything turned pear-shaped, right? You brought gifts. We brought all these gifts with us. We brought Australian chocolates. We brought little koalas and kangaroos. We brought all these like little things that came that they love over there. So we brought that with us. And when we met a supplier we liked, we used to give them a gift. That's very customary over there. You give them something, even something small, and they give you something in return. But they treat you better. They treat you with more respect. They treat you with more, they might even give you more attention. But this is something everyone can do. Even if you don't go to China, you can send them something in the mail even, right? And we did this recently because of coronavirus. I was talking to a supplier, and I sent them a little koala, which is like this size, and a little tiny bit of chocolate that had like an Australian signature on it. And basically in the mail, that's it. I just mailed them something, because I asked this lady, hey, what's your name? She goes, her name is Alice Song. I was like, great. So I wrote Alice Song. What's your supplier's address? Yep. Okay, I want to send you something. And she was like, you want to send me something? I'm like, yeah, I'll send you something. So it took about a month for it to get there, right? She gets it, opens it up. She's like, oh my God, this is wow. Like, wow, this is very unexpected. No one sends me this sort of stuff. So it makes you on the tip of their tongue. It makes you get remembered. Now, they're not going to immediately cut like, 80% off the price, right? That's not the purpose of it. The purpose is just to be remembered. Sometimes you get preferential treatment. They'll try and negotiate with their boss, try and help you out more, because no one does that stuff. It is about sometimes, you want to be yelling in a crowded marketplace to get noticed, right? And you have a lot of people jump on Alibaba, talk to them every day, but a lot of them waste their time. They don't make the purchase. They don't buy from them, right? By doing this, it shows that you're committed. It shows you're a little bit more serious. It shows that you're willing to build trust and build rapport. And the cost is like $2. It costs you $2 to send something over there. And that $2 is certainly, you can have all these pre-packaged things. You can have like 20 of them lined up all ready to go. Pick the supply, boom, mail it out, mail it out. And that way it does help you.
Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, it's such an easy thing to do, and it, probably builds a lot of goodwill with that supplier. So that's really great advice. Kind of just going off of that, we talked a little bit earlier about kind of negotiating and maybe kind of the different customs based on the culture. If you are working with a Chinese supplier based off of Alibaba or wherever, is it maybe frowned upon to try to negotiate right off the bat? Should you maybe try to establish more of a longer term relationship with them before you inquire about, cutting down the price or anything like that?
Yeah, so that's a great thing. So some people think they need to sort of cut down the supply down to the last cent to try and get the best deal. And it doesn't always have to be about price. It could be about other things. It could be about, can you get my logo on the product? Is that possible? So rather than try and negotiate on price, because it might be already cheap. It might be, for example, $3, right? You might be selling it for $29.95. Now, to cut them down $1, that's a big thing for the supplier, right? Because that's $1 off their product is probably a big thing. Whereas it's not really a big thing for you. If you've got margin there, it's probably not a big thing for you, right? You could probably increase your price by $1 to make that up, or bundle the product. So you could ask them for other things. So rather than negotiate the price, you can ask things like, is that the best price? Is there any way, and always position yourself as you're not the CEO, you're not the manager. Always say that you're the middleman. Just say, my boss, I'm happy with $3, but my boss really wants it for $2.50. Are you able to go down to $2.50, right? Never be the bad guy. Always be the good guy, the good cop, right? And that way you can always reflect. You can say, oh, let me take my boss and see what he says. And it also makes you look bigger than you actually are, which is good, which is a negotiation strategy. But you can negotiate on other things. Like you say, so $3, that's your final price. Okay, that's fine. But are you able to put our logo on the product? Okay, normally that would be, 20 cents a product. Are you able to put my logo on the product? Are you able to do that like for free? Okay, and you can negotiate on that, or you can negotiate on better shipping terms. Or can you do the shipping a little bit cheaper? Or can you do shipping a little bit faster? Or can you bundle this product for me? Or can you put the barcodes, my FNSKU barcodes on the product, and can you do that for free, right? So there's other stuff you can negotiate. It isn't all about price. I'll probably suggest people think more about that than price alone, because I think a lot of beginners just seem to think that's all about price, but it isn't. And also people who negotiate off the bat, it's like you going to an open home for property and walking in there and you're just inspecting it and going, I'll give you $100,000 less than what they're asking for. It just makes you look like a rookie, and they don't really give you respect, and they're like, oh, this guy doesn't really know what he's talking about, so it's like the trade fair, the Canton Fair. You go there and you only see the beginners haggling at the Canton Fair. No one discusses really too much on discounts or deals at the Canton Fair. All right, so I saw quite a few. I was there with a group of students, but I was walking around. There's a few people going, how much for 50,000 units? And they'll go, oh, it's $4. Okay, how much for 60,000 units? Okay, can you give me that price and switch that over and do this and do this? And it was really amateurish, trying to get deals on the first. So I wouldn't suggest doing it on the first. Have a chat with them a little bit, build some rapport, build some trust, and negotiate probably first on try and get a good price, but don't try and get it down to the bare nuts and bolts. Just try and negotiate on other stuff like logos, barcoding, packaging. Can they package it better? Can they put bubble wrap on it? Can they, all that sort of stuff, I would suggest.
Certainly. Yeah, no, that's great advice. And, something maybe we as sellers don't always often think about are those kind of other things. It seems like sometimes we're just so focused on the price, but yeah, I think all of those things, especially for new sellers, are really, great points to start talking about with your supplier. Maybe just transitioning a little bit, we're kind of coming down to the end of the year here. The holiday season is fully in swing now.
Yeah.
You can just share with us a little bit about, kind of how do you see Amazon FBA trending into the new year, into 2021? I presume, you still think it's a solid business model. Maybe talk a little bit about some of the trends or the categories that you're really liking for this next year.
Yeah, I could tell you sort of what the categories that I'm sort of excited about for next year, and a lot of it because of, and the coronavirus is a big, it's a huge thing that's changed the world, and I think it's going to have more longer lasting impacts, for the world, right? So there's going to be a lot more emphasis, I think, on, there's a baby boom coming, that's for sure. So a lot of toddler-based products, baby-based products, always going to be good. There's markets and categories that I always find are pretty consistent. The pet category is pretty consistent. More people are going to spend more time in our homes, kitchen-based sort of stuff. A lot of office-based, a lot more people working from home, and home fitness. This is where I see a big trend, an upward swing, and I've already sort of seen it already. I track the numbers on Egrow. Is the home fitness categories, especially in Australia, I'm sure most of the world, is people are spending more time working out from home. And people are just not really trusting gyms. They're not trusting going out and working with other people, sweating in the same room and reusing equipment. So there's a lot of people doing a lot of home sort of small based stuff, not buying complete gyms, because that would be a terrible thing to sell on Amazon, or weigh a ton. Literally. But it's, the smaller stuff that you can do 4 or 5 exercises in using one contraption. And then you can put it away and store it under your bed for another 6 months until you use it again. Right. You get all that sort of stuff, the small sort of stuff. That's what we're seeing as a bit of a trend. But I think anything sort of around the house, more household-based sort of stuff is what I'm excited about. Like, I'm looking at a lot of different products myself. There's about 30 different products I'm excited about right now. But yeah, it's the 2021. I can already tell it's going to be a big year. Even you look at the growth. Like, I can speak for Australia for sure, because I know what the numbers are. But because they locked down a state, we had the harshest in Melbourne. They had the harshest lockdown one of the harshest lockdown in the world. Like, there was curfews, there was, you got to wear a mask, you can't leave your house, you can't leave a 5-kilometer radius. Like, it was crazy. Now, I'm in Sydney, so it didn't affect me, but in Melbourne, it was the harshest, and that's kind of why they got rid of most of the coronavirus stuff, because it was so harsh. But the growth of Amazon, because of that, it forced everyone to go online. So Amazon actually achieved 4 years growth. What would normally take Amazon in Australia to do in 4 years, they did that in 3 months. Okay, they looked at the figures and say, normally it would take us 4 years to achieve that growth. They did it in 3 months in Australia. So Amazon Australia has surged massively. And I'm sure around the world, it's the same thing. People are stuck at home, and people are buying and spending more time online than ever before. They're spending more time on Amazon than ever before, shopping, spending money, and creating new habits. There's people out there that normally wouldn't go on Amazon. They'll go down to the local market, or they'll go down to the local Walmart, or, they'll go to Best Buy or whatever, and they'll buy what they need, and then they'll go home. But now they're basically just buying it on Amazon. So I think Amazon's very exciting. It's going to be much better for 2021 for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, those growth statistics, they speak for themselves. And, I think I often get questions, I'm sure you do too, about, is FBA still profitable, or is it oversaturated? And I think this year, and especially going into next year, just proves that there's huge opportunities still for new sellers to jump in and carve out their niche.
Massively. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, FBA it's a very scalable business. And this is, I used to do a lot of e-commerce sort of stuff, and I used to go to the post office myself. And this is before Amazon, but it's I know, yeah, it's, you can't scale where people sell. If you're selling 1,000 products a day, you're selling 50 a day, you can go to the post office yourself and send them off, but you can't really scale. Now, recently, I do know there's a bit of a switch between FBA and FBM because of the shipping delays. I don't know that. And of course, Q4, the storage prices are pushing everything up, so people are just getting things out momentarily, but they're going to be putting it back in January or February when the storage goes down. But it's, yeah, there is a bit of a switch to FBM. It's mainly because of those delivery times and the customers are waiting for it, especially if you're doing international shipping. But I still think FBA is the bee's knees. I think everyone should be doing FBA. And also, you know, there's a lot of other advantage you get as well with FBA. But yeah, FBM is still good, but it depends what you're selling. It depends on the weight, the size, and you just got to work out your costs. You know, sometimes it is cheaper. We actually we have students who do FBM because they prefer to be more in charge of their stock. They want to put, you know, custom cards, and they want to do, you know, little notes and all this other stuff. And you've got some people like, I just want to sell as many of these per day as I possibly can. And FBA is the only logical choice.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense. Well, Alexander, this has been really great. I think our audience is going to get a lot of value from watching this video, you know, learning how to contact suppliers and maybe understand a little bit about, okay, you know, how should I be communicating with my suppliers when I'm first starting out? So really appreciate it.
Thanks,
this
Rob.
has been awesome.
Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah, and to everyone, yeah, it's have a fantastic, stay safe, look after your family, everybody, and look after yourself. And we're in very turbulent times right now, so I wish you all the best and have a fantastic festive period.
Yeah, absolutely. And just before we jump off, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you if they want to know more about Hot Product Formula or maybe become one of your students?
Just drop me an email at even just visit our website, Hot Product Formula, or just drop me an email at alex@hotproductformula.com.au. And yeah, we've got a free training on our site, sort of showing you how to get in contact with suppliers and get the best price. And yeah, so check us out if you can. But yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Rob. I really appreciate this.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it, Alexander. And we'll definitely drop all that information in the description down below. Thanks, everyone.